Did you ever stop and wonder if you could be related to everyone with your last name?
Just think if you're a Lincoln, how you'd be congratulated if Honest Abe were someone you could claim.
To clear up any mystery, just check your family history.
Genealogy's the name of the game. Now some ancestors you'll find you want to hide,
but most of them will fill your heart with pride.
Oh, your family tree, check your genealogy, find who was who and how who came to be. On your family tree.
Welcome to the Genealogy radio show, the radio show that's keeping you in the loop. Today we bring to you another show on another county of Ireland. Today we are focusing on County Kerry. I would like to welcome Cuan to today's show as our guest. First of all, Cuan, can you tell me about the establishment of Kerry as a county and its development through the years?
Yes, so today Kerry is the 5th largest of the 32 counties by land area and the 13th largest in terms of population. However, the county of Kerry that we know today has not always been the same. So I'm going to take you through some of the major developments of the county throughout its history. Kerry or Kiri was previously known as Kierig. This means people of Keir, which was the name of the pre-Gaelic tribe who lived in this area of the country in 65 CE. This tribe was founded by the legendary Keir, son of Fergus MacRiach, a former king of Ulster. The name can be broken down in Old Irish to 2 words, Keir and Riach. Keir was used to mean black or dark brown and is still used in Irish as an adjective to describe a dark complexion. The suffix Riach means people or tribe, hence the translation of Kierig to the people of Keir. Around this time in 65 CE, Keir took possession of an area of land stretching from the River Main in the south to the Shannon Estuary in the north, and included the peninsula of Kirkguina or Dingle Peninsula. This territory at the time was known as Clár na Clíomh, or the Plain of Swords. The Kingdom of Kerry was one of the important petty kingdoms of ancient Ireland and the only one to incorporate the word kingdom as part of its name. Moving forward through time to the year 1118, the area we now know as Kerry and Cork was referred to as the Kingdom of Desmond. This kingdom was founded by Taig MacCarthaigh, who was the king of Munster at the time of the Treaty of Glanmire. In this treaty, the former Kingdom of Munster was divided into Desmond and Thomond, with the Kingdom of Desmond concentrated majorly in the south and Thomond in the north. The Kingdom of Desmond was ruled by the MacCarthaigh dynasty. However, there were other large clans within this kingdom, such as the O'Sullivans and the O'Donovans. The Norman invasion in the 12th century again shook up the structure of the area. The eastern half of Desmond was conquered by the Anglo-Normans and became the Earldom of Desmond. This area was ruled by the Fitzgeralds and the Fitzmaurices, who together made up the famous Irish family, the Geraldines. Although Diarmid MacCarthaigh, the ruler of the western half of Desmond, later submitted to Henry II of England, the western half of Desmond that he ruled lived on as a semi-independent Gaelic kingdom. The kings of Desmond founded many major sites in the county throughout the years, including Muckross Abbey and Ballycarbery Castle. It wasn't until the year 1210 that the boundaries more similar to the ones we see today for the county were put in place. This was done by King John, who was kept well informed on the disturbed state of the country during these times. What seemed to trouble him the most was that some of the great nobles, such as de Lacys and William de Brough, had chosen to ignore English authority and proceed to treat themselves like independent princes. With the object of reducing this defiance and restoring order, King John landed in Ireland with a large army whose presence immediately quieted the country and caused the de Lacys and de Broughs to flee. As King John did not partake in the fighting himself, he used this time to make arrangement for better governing of the country. The rest of Ireland under English jurisdiction was divided up into 12 shires or counties, with Kerry making up one of these alongside others such as Dublin, Cork, Limerick, and Tipperary. The king returned to England in August of 1210, leaving John de Grey, Lord Justice, in charge of carrying out the arrangements the king had devised. His efforts would prove a success, as Ireland posed very little threat for the remainder of his reign.
And Cuan, could you tell us about the population of Kerry, how it has been affected throughout the years, in particular the effect the famine had on the county?
So Kerry has the 13th largest population in Ireland today, with 147,554 people in 2016, and has a population density of 32 people per kilometre squared, which is relatively low in comparison to the national average of 71 people. This is likely due to the dominant rural nature of the county, with just two major towns in Killarney and Tralee. Tralee is the biggest of the two and had 23,691 people living there in 2016, while Killarney boasts a population of 14,504 for this same year. The county has seen a steady increase in population over recent years. However, this contrasts with the population trends it is used to over the last few hundred years. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Kerry became increasingly populated by poor tenant farmers who came to rely on the potato as their main food source. The county was poor and offered little to the people that lived there. Despite this, the census of 1821 gave a population figure of 216,185 for the county, and by 1841, 20 years later, the figure was 293,880. It is hard to make sense of why such a large increase in population occurred in the area at this time, yet regardless of the reasons behind its growth, it provided many problems for the people in the area when the famine struck. As a result, when the potato crop failed in the Great Famine of 1845 to 1849, Kerry was hit hard, as it was already one of the poorest counties in Ireland in the 1800s. In the wake of the famine, many thousands of poor farmers emigrated to seek better life in America and elsewhere. Kerry was to remain a source of emigration until recent times. The impact of such immigration on the population of the county is telling in the figures, where in 1841 the population was 293,880. By 1851, the population had decreased by over 55,000. And by 1861, 20 years after the beginning of the famine, the population had decreased to 201,798, almost 100,000 less than it had been at the beginning of the famine. Today, the population is almost 150,000 less than it was before the Great Famine struck. For those looking to escape Kerry and the famine, the nearest port of emigration, with ships mostly sailing to Canada, was Blennerville, the port of Tralee, from 1828 until 1867. When the railway came to Tralee in 1859, it had stops in Rathmore, Killarney, Farnfor, and Tralee. This made it possible to travel to Queenstown or Dublin by rail and onwards abroad from there. Ships from Queenstown often left bound for New York, some via Liverpool. Limerick port was also used for emigration purposes. Charles Bianconi, an Irish-Italian entrepreneur, started long cars to serve travel from Tralee to Cork, at first around 1828. These were similar to the buses used in modern times. These cars eventually had routes to Killarney, Clorglen, and as far as Glenbeigh, making it easier for the people in these areas to find transport to leave the country. The location that these immigrants would go to was not chosen by the immigrant. He or she would go to a location where they already had friends, relatives, or old neighbors. This was so they could have jobs already lined up upon their arrival. Different Kerry parishes are well known for providing large numbers of immigrants who settled in the same destinations. West Kerry natives and people from the areas of Ballyferter, Dunquin, and the Blasket Islands almost all went to Springfield, Massachusetts. Ballymackelligate natives went in large numbers to New Zealand, and the people of the Bear Peninsula went to Montana. The 5 Points in Manhattan became home to hundreds of Lansdowne estate immigrants.
And Cuan, traditionally, what surnames are most commonly associated with Kerry?
O'Sullivan, or O'Sullivan in Irish, is the third most numerous surname in Ireland, and is potentially the most popular surname in the county of Kerry too. The O'Sullivans in the past were a Gaelic clan based prominently in what is today the county of Kerry and Cork. The etymology of the given name is uncertain. While there is no doubt that the basic word is sul, to mean eye, there can be a disagreement as to the meaning of the last part of the name. It is interpreted as sul duvan, meaning little dark-eyed one by many, with sul meaning eye and dove referring to dark or black. Another suggested etymology includes a sul awan, meaning one-eyed, with sul meaning eye and awan equal to one. Another very popular surname in Kerry is O'Connor, with some of the earliest origins of the O'Connor name to be found here. O'Connor is among the top 10 most common surnames in Ireland, with the name deriving from 6 distinct Gaelic septs located in different parts of the country. The anglicised version comes from the Irish O'Conachur, which is said to have the meaning lover of hounds, wolf lover, or patron of warriors. The Kerry O'Connors, where the name is most concentrated, were chiefs of large territory in the north of the county. They were eventually displaced further northwards due to the northwards to the Limerick borders by the Norman invasion, where they retained much of their power down to the 17th century. Because of this, today the descendants from the O'Connor clan are mostly concentrated in Kerry, Limerick, and Cork. In Griffith's valuation, 3 variations of the surname are found. Connor was the most numerous of the variants, with 5,377 households across the country, mainly concentrated in Kerry and Cork. The plural form Connors was recorded at 1,749 households, while those using the name O'Connor, mainly seen again in Munster, numbered 841. O'Shea is another name with its origins heavily linked to the area of Kerry. It is derived from the Gaelic word shaya, which means hawk-like or stately. This name is already heavily associated with the county due to several well-known faces from the area. These include Daithí O'Shea, an Irish television presenter and native Irish speaker born in Dingle. Daithí is known best for his role as a presenter of the Rose of Tralee. Another popular name linking the surname with the county is Pádraig O'Shea, a famous Gaelic footballer born in Ventry. Playing as a right half-back, he captained the Kerry team to All-Ireland victories in 1985 and continued to be a regular member of the county panel until his retirement after the 1987 championship. During that time, he won 8 All-Ireland medals, 11 Munster medals, 4 National League medals, and 5 All-Star awards. These people is often how the name is linked to the county now, but in the past, the O'Sheas, primarily a Kerry sept, had their power base at the Iveragh Peninsula. In Griffith's valuation of 1852, the largest number of O'Sheas were found to be in Kerry at 1,145, and 40% of that number were in the Iveragh Peninsula. Today, about half of all the O'Sheas in Ireland live in Kerry and Cork. Some Norman surnames with heavy links to County Kerry are Beamish, Fitzmaurice, or Morrissey, Rice, McGilligan, and Palmer.
And Cuan, what significant historical or cultural events have taken place in Kerry and continue to be remembered in the county?
I'll start with some events in the past that have become associated with the county. Kerry has a rich history of conflict in ancient times, and this trend of violence has carried on throughout its lifetime. One major source of political conflict in recent times is the Siege of Tralee during the 20th century War of Independence. In the War of Independence, the Irish Republican Army fought a guerrilla war against the Royal Irish Constabulary and British military, with the Siege of Tralee in November 1920 one of the more prominent incidences. The Siege of Tralee came about due to the accumulation of multiple violent events. On the 31st of October 1920, the Sinn Féin Lord Mayor of Cork, Terence McSwiney, died on a hunger strike in protest at what he considered his unlawful detention. The following day, on the 1st of November, Kevin Barry, an 18-year-old IRA member, was hanged for his role in an arms raid in Dublin that left 3 British soldiers dead. McSwiney and Barry were elevated to the status of Republican martyrs and presented to the world as examples of British tyranny in Ireland, but their deaths also led indirectly to a week of bloodshed in the county of Kerry. The IRA had killed 4 policemen in the area from the year 1916 up to November 1920. However, in the 24 hours preceding the Siege of Tralee, they shot 16, killing 7. In the hours after the first shootings of policemen in the town, 3 civilians were shot in retaliation, 1 fatally. Tralee was placed under curfew for a week, where many homes were burned and a number of local people were shot dead. Another more recent and less violent event associated with the county is the Ring of Kerry cycle, which takes place on the first Sunday of July each year. The Ring of Kerry cycle route is one known well all around the world due to its breathtaking scenery. The entire journey is 216 kilometers, with 74 kilometers on the main road and 143 on minor roads. The route passes through towns and villages such as Killarney, Kenmare, Sneem and Clorglan. The story of the cycle began in 1982 when a group from Killarney had the idea to cycle the 175-kilometer at the time Ring of Kerry to raise money for charity. This first cycle had 46 entrants. Today, the Ring of Kerry charity cycle brings together 10,000 participants each year, making it Ireland's largest one-day charity event. Over the past 35 years, almost €15 million for 150 charity organisations has been raised through the annual support of participating cyclists and volunteers. Now, you can't have a show on Kerry without mentioning the excellent footballing history of the county. Although in recent times, Dublin have been too good to compete with, Kerry is known for its senior Gaelic football teams and it is by far the most dominant sport in the county. The Kerry branch of the Gaelic Athletic Association was founded in the year 1888. The Kerry Gaelic football team is the most successful in the country's history, winning the Sam Maguire Cup 37 times, with the next nearest team, Dublin, on 30 wins. Amongst these wins are 2 4-in-a-rows from 1929 to 1932 and from 1978 to 1981. The county also has 2 3-in-a-rows to its name from 1931 to 1941 and 1984 to 1986. Amongst these wins, it also has lost the most finals Amongst these wins, it has lost more finals than any other county, with 23. Now that's all I have for you today on the county of Kerry, and I'll hand you back to Nicholas to close the show.
Thank you for all your insight into County Kerry. I'm sure we all learned a lot of information that we didn't know. And of course, anyone out there who is interested can conduct their own further research into the county. But I think that is a good point to end today's show, after all that we've learned today. I'd like to thank Cuan, our guest, for being on today's show. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners for enjoying the show. This show will be repeated on Sunday on Radio Cork Bashkin.
Did you ever stop and wonder if you could be related to everyone with your last name?
Just think if you're a Lincoln, how you'd be congratulated if Honest Abe were someone you could claim.
To clear up any mystery, just check your family history.
Genealogy's the name of the game. Now some ancestors you'll find you want to hide,
but most of them will fill your heart with pride.
Oh, your family tree, check your genealogy, find who was who and how who came to be. On your family tree.